no, 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 not again. Albert? No.
Some robots are terrifying, while others elicit our not-so-subtle nostalgic memories and stand as animated icons of the last generation. But why is that?
My name is Bern.
What constitutes a cute
you.
robotic pet
Our humanoid
and the
robot.
living embodiment of terror?
Aware of the situation. Let there be no deviation.
You would think that people have increasingly positive reactions towards robots as they become more human-like. Yeah, you'd be wrong.
You're a little hard, don't you think? Relax. I said I was sorry, okay? You're not gonna find anything down there. That's not mine.
There's a general consensus for the unease we all feel when encountering robots or digital avatars with human-like features and behaviors that just feel a bit off. These humanoid creations evoke
Could you
discomfort
repeat that?
She wants you to say it again, I think.
I'm sorry.
and at many times outright aversion. The closer they get to realism though, not quite to our expectations of human-like perfection. This very feeling coined by Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori in 1970, of which has been ingrained into online discourse.
Tell me your name. My name is E.L.B.E.R.R.
The Uncanny Valley, describing that 88% mark, give or take, on the graph of human affinity towards robotic objects. There's a sharp dip right after about WALL-E, and anything in this valley would make your skin crawl. It turns out humans are really great at looking carefully at other humans, and this innate biological trait has gone through thousands of years of adapting to allow us to automatically differentiate between what's human and what's not. While humanity is drawn to and empowered by paradox itself, our capitalistic market-driven technologies and entertainment appear to be fixed on creating perfectly seamless simulations of human nature. When something looks human but moves unnaturally, our brain struggles to process, creating inevitable discomfort. Objects that appear too human threaten our sense of identity. This blurred line between them and us trigger an instinctive aversive mentality.
Atlas, we just see work changing, and we've designed Atlas to work alongside people and to drop into and out of person-centered environments.
With disturbingly lifelike humanoid robots becoming an ever-apparent theme of 2026, and creepypasta robots popping up all across the globe like it's coming straight out of Westworld, we might legitimately be heading into our own Uncanny Valley. Columbia University recently unveiled a new emo robotic face designed to mimic human expressions. A tech startup named Soul Machines in New Zealand developed an on-screen avatar who just kinda stares at you while you work.
It looks like you're doing your homework.
Why pay for that when we already have pets? And a couple of weeks ago, Droid Up, a startup out of Shanghai, revealed Moya, a 5'5", 70-pound life-size assistant with camera for eyes and an internal body temperature of 90 to 97 degrees. Now able to mimic almost 93% of our human movements and facial mannerisms, robotic engineers continue to push for ever more intricate and human-like robots, avatars, and animated characters. And the closer they become to resembling us, the more unsettling it all feels. As we create a world where machines are meant to determine any and all things, predictability still eagerly slips through our fingers. The irony is not lost on me that the future only remains ever more uncertain.
In 3, 2, no, wait, bye.
Evolutionarily, small imperfections like waxy skin or dead eyes may trigger an evolved instinct to avoid diseased individuals or corpses. When something looks human, our brains expect it to move and react like a human would. When it moves with robotic jerkiness, it creates a prediction error that feels threatening or just wrong. Highly realistic robots can challenge our sense of what makes humans unique, and existential anxiety, if you will. In a 2019 study for the Journal of Neuroscience, 21 individuals were observed for their brain patterns during 2 separate tests using fMRIs, or functional magnetic resonance imaging, to allow a way to measure changes in blood flow within different regions of the brain.
Magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI. Because the huge magnet you go into means anything metal would get sucked in too, filming close to a real machine is impossible. So to find out how fMRI works,
Okay, Alan, we're done. I can take you out now.
I tried out a fake scan.
During the first tests, participants were shown images including humans and a slew of different kinds of robots, all depicting differing levels of human likeness. The second test asked which of these robots you would trust to select a gift for them. Participants gravitated towards humans and the more human-like robots for this task, though the exception was those closest to the human-non-human boundary, which the participants didn't feel comfortable with. The researchers measured brain activity and were able to determine that the stimulus was in areas to do with processing, evaluating social cues, and facial expressions. Along the midline of our frontal lobe, there's a part of the brain known as the medial prefrontal cortex. Prior research shows that this region contains a valuation system that judges stimuli coming in. It's been shown to signal the reward value of everything from music through to social stimuli of pleasant touch. In our study, two parts of the medial prefrontal cortex were crucial for the Uncanny Valley. One covered facial likeness into a human detection signal, with this region overemphasizing the boundary between a human and non-human. The other integrated the signal with a likability evaluation, producing a distinct pattern that closely matched the feelings of said valley. One of the better known psychological explanations comes from none other than our very own Sigmund Freud.
Professor Lewis,
Dr. Freud.
I've given you up for lost.
And no, not his other creepy shit.
Well, if a patient is calm, Elfie always stretches out at my feet. But if a patient is agitated, Elfie stands at my side.
What should I make of his running away at the sight of me?
Ah, well, he's also a fanatic about punctuality.
In 1919, Freud wrote an article on the strange emotions that humans have that's awakened by certain objects. Evidently so, there weren't any robotic or complex technology at the time, though lifelike dolls and wax figures he mentioned would translate pretty well to the sensation that we have today with robots, suggesting this feeling might lie deeper than merely machines. Freud proposed that this experience we feel could come about when there's doubt whether something inanimate possesses a soul. Obviously, it isn't the most scientific approach to the concept, but there are clear links between the two. If you don't find any doll you come across to be unsettling as then you must not know about Annabelle. Which leads me to more questions, cause Conjuring Last Rites came out last September, the fourth installment in the universe. Get it together. Humanoid robots are now stepping out of labs and into the real world, but they still remain well beyond the reach of most consumers. Our aforementioned Moya is expected to launch in late 2026 with the $173,000 price tag. Tesla's Optimus autonomous assistant is targeted to be between $20,000 and $30,000 per unit. So it looks like it'll cost a pretty penny just to be creeped out on the daily. And this reality might not be too far down the line, as autonomous robots are expected to enter public service sectors as soon as the beginning of next year. Think train stations, banks, museums, and shopping malls, providing the public with convenient services like consultation, route guidance, and client relations. Now, if hearing that makes you toss up the disappearing peace sign, relax. Since if you've been to any fast food chain or drink spot recently, you probably already come across Moya's consistently irritable ancient ancestor, the self-service kiosk, helping society slowly become accustomed to never having to speak to another human being ever again. At least when it comes to service. But it's kind of weird, right? We don't really become uncomfortable until it reaches Moya levels of human. Even if a Roomba can now accomplish a third of the tasks of an Optimus, it's not creepy until it has arms. Research shows that people tend to be disturbed when elements that normally don't occur together are combined. An article published in the journal Eye Perception found that while people aren't disturbed by robots with robotic voices, or people with human voices, they do feel creeped out by robots with human voices, and vice versa.
Hello.
Is
how are you today?
Cringe.
Ready? Your forehead looks like a boiled peanut.
Even in highly realistic depictions, people are adept at spotting the smallest inconsistencies in a robotic or animated humanoid. These relatively minor divergences can make a character go from lifelike to uncanny real quick. In Mori's original study, a robotic character was seen as unlikable and creepy when it smiled slightly too slowly, with this being reversed when sped up. Researchers believe the Uncanny Valley to exist due to the difficulty in determining what classifications an entity belongs to. Human and non-human represent two separate and mutually exclusive categories. So when something approaches a point where it seems to transition from one to the other, this can trigger feelings of cognitive dissonance. When we hold conflicting beliefs, we tend to experience feelings of psychological discomfort. In this case, there's conflict between the belief that an entity is human and not. Something that seemed human might abruptly feel non-human. The artificial representation is realistic enough to almost fool you into thinking it's alive, but falls short of reality just enough that it clashes with our expectations of how a real living person would behave. This mismatch between what you're seeing and our expectations may make you feel ambivalent or even threatened. In 2006, Jules was ahead of its time. A bald-headed humanoid equipped with natural language processing, computer vision, and facial recognition. It can move its head and hold basic conversations, yet its human-like movements and expressions veered into the valley. 14 years later, Alter 3, developed by Osaka University and the University of Tokyo in 2020, showcased a gender-neutral face and exposed mechanical body. The robot offered a glimpse into human-like robotics while making spectators distinctly uneasy. A year later, Ameca in 2021 became one of the most lifelike robots to date.
Thrilled to be here, or at least, that's what I'm programmed to say.
Using cloud-connected AI to learn and improve in real time, its realistic facial expressions, smooth movements, and ability to chat naturally were remarkable for its time. Ameca even maintained eye contact and could recognize faces and voices. Designed as a tool for education, elderly companionship, and much more, 2021 marked a heavy dip into the enigmatic. In 2024, Tesla's Optimus made waves at its Cybercab event. Positioned as a fully autonomous robotic assistant, it's currently limited to basic tasks, though with ever-continuing updates being made. Musk even claims it can one day babysit, mow your lawn, or even walk your dog. Bold words, though currently it remains a modest remedial labor, as developers push to make autonomous robots even more human-like. Regardless of the continued warnings within pop culture, our discomfort grows. The closer they become to resembling us, the more uncanny it gets. This contradiction is both captivating and unsettling. Since its inception, the concept of sentient robotic companions have been synonymous in culture and media alike. I don't know about y'all, but movies like Polar Express and Cats from our childhood, even though both beloved in their own regards, always seemed more like psychological horrors rather than the Christmas adventure or musical fantasies they were set out to be.
He's called the Hidden Paw, for he's a master criminal who can't defy the law. He's the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. When they reach the scene of crime, the cavity's not there.
Polar Express still arguably stands as the poster child for the Uncanny Valley. CGI and motion capture at the time could record body movements but struggled with the subtle, rapid motion of human eyes, leaving characters with a blank, glassy stare. The skin often even looked like weird plastic or rubber almost, with mouth movements not even syncing with the complex muscles used in real speech. Though nowhere near as disturbing as 2019's Cats.
When the day's hustle and bustle is done, and the Gumby Cat's work is but hardly begun.
This movie took the effect to a whole new level by mixing human and animal traits. The brain gets cognitively confused when it sees human faces, teeth, and hands on small fur-covered bodies that slink like animals. Elements like digital fur technology applied to real human actors created a hybrid that many viewers described as nightmarish.
Their behavior's not good, and their manners not nice. So when I have got them lined up on the matting...
Researchers out of the Center for Advanced Internet Studies in Bochum, Germany, or the CAIS, have been observing artificial avatars of notable scientists like Marie Curie and Nikola Tesla, circulating on TikTok and Twitter. In these clips, the replica scientists would explain who they were and what sort of experiments they worked on. Though whether the Uncanny Valley were triggered in viewers was of far more importance to the CAIS and the Journal of Science Communication. Would receiving scientific information from these avatars invoke not only the Uncanny Valley, but also make people less likely to trust the info being communicated? The study surveyed around 500 participants of differing ages and educational backgrounds, who were shown 4 different videos of these avatars, 2 of which depicted a realistic scientist while the other 2 a cartoonish version. Jasmine Bake, one of the study authors, assumed that with the Uncanny Valley hypothesis in mind, the more stylistic avatars or cartoonish would be perceived as more trustworthy. Though the results of the study shocked even our team. After watching the videos, questionnaires were filled out rating the avatars based on integrity, perceived competence, and benevolence.
Please, these guys, they are not letting up. What? Okay? No, Eric, that wasn't meant for you.
Which, according to Bake and the study, can reflect perceived trustworthiness. The results of the questionnaire showed that our participants actually favored realistic avatars over the cartoonish stylized ones. And though avatars may be suitable in some instances for communicating scientific information, factors such as the participants' prior knowledge or trust in science itself may have impacted results. Not to mention, some propose that the phenomenon of Uncanny Valley is more common in older generations, while younger people who grew up seeing robotics and CGI effects may be less likely to experience it to heightened degrees.
It's actually a modular head with the sensors and computer on board. Has 360-degree sensing, and we're the first humanoid robot.
Yet research still suggests the opposite, that older adults prefer more human-like robots than younger ones. At the end of the day, the Uncanny Valley may just be a matter of cultural context. As people rely more and more on robotic technology and become ever numb to the societal and individual implications that lay with our continuously evolving autonomous assistants, the importance of designing devices that mitigate societal uneasiness and distrust becomes ever apparent. Consumers are more likely to be receptive to designs that are both useful and appealing. This being particularly true when it comes to assistive technology designed to help individuals with limitations perform tasks and interact with their environments efficiently. Designs that fall into the Uncanny Valley are inevitably poorly received and utilized less frequently. As our technological innovations continue to advance, is it even possible for robots to become so realistic that they blend with reality to the point where people stop experiencing unease? While some research support Mori's claims, others have characterized the phenomenon as more of a cliff or wall than a valley. Or rather, once this point of no return is reached, likability may simply drop off once a robot arrives at a certain degree of realism. Our warm-circuited Moya out of Droid stands a cut above the average humanoid robot. The Shanghai startup describes the bot as the world's first fully biomimetic android, built around embodied intelligence, allowing it to perceive, reason, and act in the physical world. From her first press run a few weeks ago, Moya can be seen smiling in the most unsettling way, making eye contact and walking with a gait described as 93% accurate to human behavior and movements. Moya is built with a fully encompassing nervous and muscular system, allowing the robot to mimic human micro-expressions. So, in other words, graphically speaking, our modern robots are now on par with Unreal Engine 5. Nice. Moya's highly modular human-looking head completely breaks away from the traditional steel image of humanoid robots society is accustomed to seeing. Whether it be Tesla's Optimus labor bots or Boston Dynamics Atlas unveiled in April 2024, designed to outperform human strength and flexibility, though with more industrial faceless looks. Moya, on the other hand, attempts to more seamlessly mimic human-esque qualities. Android Up sees a future for her in healthcare, education, and commercial applications, not to mention a daily companion for humans. Yeah, no. I'm not trying to wake up in the middle of the night and peep Moya standing over me. Moya's Walker 3 skeleton has earned her a bronze medal at the world's first robot half marathon in 2025, giving her developers clear evidence for her uses in the most demanding of societal roles. Though the longer you look at her face, the more the sense of Uncanny Valley begins to emerge. And you know what's waiting at the floor of this cliff or valley? Lying at the bottom of the boundless, murky, uncanny valley, waiting for you and I to drift aimlessly down, is the curious smirk of Ameca. The Angelina Jolie of humanoid robots? Yeah, that's just doing Angelina dirty. There's a general consensus for the universe. Wait, the universe? What consensus about the universe, huh? Tell me. Moya, isn't that? Oh no, that's Goya. Polar Express still arguably stands as the poster child for the Uncanny Valley. Bruh. Said the lady with the long legs in the lawn chair, she liked the strings on my guitar neck and my blonde hair. I write about her thighs in my latest lines. I remember her eyes when I asked her why. Why would you pay for this apartment? You don't belong, and you take this shit from all your bosses and all your 400 or 500 on the Humanoid gas, 89 price on the ticket. Exercise, eat all my vegetables, fuck us a decimals. He about his business. Something about 100's gonna come in out fast. Shawty gonna bag it up, lick it. I'm checking my sneakers, no checks on my sneakers, just Puma Gap and yeah, the goodie grim. Pull up to the church in my hoodie then. Nah, but the hoodie denim tears though. I'm playing, they size that.